editing is fun.
It is.
Frame rates make editing fun.
You're right, though. When GoPro figures out, if we could do an interview and you could frame a GoPro the way we frame our interviews, done.
Yeah.
I don't need big cameras at that point because now I can just grab different GoPros. So I'm shooting the house and this kid opens the door, steps outside, and he looks at me and he says, "Wrong neighborhood." And I looked at him and I go, "I'm just doing my job, man." And he lifts up his shirt and he shows me he has a gun around his waist, and he's like, "Wrong neighborhood, man. Leave." And I couldn't get my camera in my truck quick enough. For me, I'm more of like the front end of it.
I'm just making it up. Of a similar nature or character.
JMKast. JMKast.
But we get shocked often by Chris.
If you Google my name, it always pulls up Ric Flair and Blackjack Mulligan. That's another story for another time, though. Welcome back, kiddies. Ric Mulligan here, along with
Greg T. Johnson.
Got to get that T in there.
Trouble.
That's all right. You have a T. I have one less letter because I don't have a K in my name. So
K.
Just RIC.
But we have a K in our.
I know.
I mean, we had to put the K back.
I get we had to put the K back. It's funny because I hate the letter K with a passion, but no.
But JMK.
That's why I changed my name when I was a kid.
You changed it?
I never told you that story.
No. Your name was Rick with a K?
My name, my birth name was Richard Von Dale Majeski III.
Okay.
Growing up, my grandparents and my uncles were always around. My dad wasn't around. So I was with my mom and I was with my grandparents and my uncles. And when I turned 16, I was 15, I said to my mom, I want to change my name. And she said, okay. Like, she didn't even hesitate. I had to tell my dad in written form that I could provide to the courts that I wanted. I quit using I had dropped the K from my name when I was like 13 or 14 because I hated writing it. I just couldn't stand writing the letter K. I just didn't like
What's
it.
What's wrong with you?
I don't know. I didn't like writing it.
Any other letters that
I don't like
give
letters.
you
I don't
anxiety?
like Z. I don't like Z. I don't like the number 7.
Okay, so the ones that are extra, like,
Yeah.
P? Do you like P?
I don't have a problem with P.
Okay.
So yeah, so I had
Q?
no, I don't care. Q's easy. Just circle and slash. So I had to notify him through written letter, and all he had to do to prevent it was literally sending a letter back that just said no, and I would have had to wait till I was 18. He didn't even do that, and I was like, all right, cool. So I turned 16. I changed my name to Mulligan, Rick Allen Mulligan, because Alan Trammell was my favorite baseball player when I was a kid. My mom told me that's what she originally wanted my middle name to be, was Alan. And, all right, cool. So that works. And I almost changed my first name to Zach because my mom said that's what she wanted to name me. But I was like, I will get ridiculed in high school because it was the height of Saved by the Bell. And everyone would have been like, oh, you think you're cool like Zach Morris? I never heard the end of it. So that's the only
And your last
reason.
name was Efron, so.
Right. So the only reason I didn't change it. So to Zach. And I didn't want my initials to be Zam.
Zam?
Yeah. Zachary. Or Zach Allen Mulligan. Anyway. So that's why.
Shazam.
Yeah, right. Shazam, man. Come on. So that's why I changed it when I turned 16. Not everybody knows that story.
I did not know that.
I wanted my grandpa's name.
Oh.
So I was really close to my grandpa.
Well, okay. I was getting ready to push something.
Information about Rick.
Not going to push it now. You brought up Grandpa.
Oh.
So anyway, we hadn't said it yet, but you know what you got to do.
Oh yeah, like, share, subscribe.
Yeah. And
Comment. Give us questions.
And I'm hoping we're on Apple by now.
Yeah, there's no way we're not by now.
Really?
We have to be.
Well, what if I put this on tomorrow?
Probably not.
When is tomorrow, though?
That is true. No one knows.
No one knows what tomorrow.
We dated the last episode, though, big time. Yeah,
well,
because we talked about someone passing.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
So that's all right, though.
People will know what day we did it. Oh,
yeah,
well.
I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, but they're not going to know what day we did this one. It was the same day, by the way.
We try to backlog.
Like, we literally just did it 20 minutes ago.
We try to backlog them if we can help it.
Well, I mean, we only get a chance to be together and do this in person
Yeah.
so many times, so we try to do a few of them.
Right.
Which, I mean, so far we only do like 3.
Right.
Yeah.
3, 2, 3. Maybe we'll do 4 today.
3, 3.
Oh, 3, 3.
Yeah,
That's right.
we did 3
that's
and
right,
3.
3, 3.
We
That's
got
right.
6 done.
I don't know why I thought 2.
But hey, guess what season it is? Do you know?
It's getting close.
Oh, it's getting real close.
Camps are open.
Hello. Football season is here.
For those who don't know, which song is this?
That is Baylor,
The Baylor
University. Yeah, it's a school I attended. Majored in music there.
I need to go to that stadium.
It is a nice stadium.
I've seen it from the outside.
McLean Stadium, I think. Anyway,
Gotta be the
yeah,
big house, the
but
big
that
houses.
you know, football season, and they did pretty well last year. If I don't remember, they did all right. They got them a new coach that actually getting them going.
They did.
But hey, you just found out some. Hey, we actually just talked about it a while ago. In case you don't know this one, and no, that is not the Ohio State.
I'm just gonna ignore him. It's funny because it's U of M's fight song.
His favorite.
See, I need to know my all-time favorite is still Western Michigan's because that's where I went.
Well,
They're my number one.
But when it comes to probably paying attention and what, I mean, how many Western Michigan football games have you like watched on TV?
Oh, you'd be surprised. More than you think.
Really?
Yeah. They were pretty good a couple years ago because they actually went to the Cotton Bowl played here.
Did you go to the game?
I did. It was awesome. Saw a ton of college friends. Like a lot of college friends came down.
That's awesome.
It was amazing. And they, with the exception of 2 penalties.
Baylor plays here all the time, and I don't go to any of them.
Well, they lost by 14 to Wisconsin, a powerhouse Big Ten team. And if it were not for two penalties, that game would have been tied.
Yeah.
And when you think about a little MAC school holding their own against a tough Big Ten team, that's impressive. So they lost. That was their only loss of the season, though. And then PJ Fleck went to Minnesota. So the coach, but whatever. He rowed the boat to Minnesota because that was the slogan that year, row the boat.
Rode the boat.
Row the boat, which we all loved. So, but no, Michigan, they were ranked 6th. I don't know where, I didn't see what Baylor was at. They've got to be ranked.
I would think they're in the top 25, but you're asking the wrong person.
I'll tell you in a
I
second,
mean,
'cause I'm gonna look
usually when the season starts, then I start looking and paying attention, but I don't.
Rankings.
Here's the interesting part. I don't even have the fight song for the for the university that I actually support as far as
not ranked.
Ranked. They're not.
They're not. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. They're ranked 10th.
Oh, number 10.
10 in the preseason poll.
Just
profanity right now. I'm so mad.
Oh, he saw another school that we won't mention.
Bama's number 1. That school from the down south is number 2.
Oh, yeah. Whatever.
Georgia's number 3. Returning Clemson's the freaking champs, and they're 4. Notre Dame is 5.
Okay.
Then Michigan. Then Texas A&M, Utah, OU, Baylor. This is funny because
really
Notre Dame,
Utah's what?
Utah's 8.
Wow.
Yeah, Utah
must have a pretty
they have a good program.
Yeah, that reminds me. I did the story, Channel 8. I did the story about the wide receiver. He was from Mesquite, North Mesquite, and he got shot at a party or something.
Oh yeah,
but like unexpectedly, it wasn't like a fight kind of a thing. Like everyone says what a great kid he was, and he was in a bad place when someone decided to go do something bad.
That's no bueno.
Yeah, and he apparently he was a really good wide receiver, like probably going to be in the NFL.
That's terrible.
That was a tough story to cover, but we do stuff like that in the news business.
I don't miss that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the day you find out, I visited with the father and the mother.
It's so hard to
literally
ask
on the day
questions.
you find out, and then
so hard to talk to people like that.
Yeah, and then
that's why I quit shooting.
And then like the next week, they had another thing at the stadium where they let off balloons, and there's the mom and the sister and the I mean, all over again.
And you have to do it.
Yeah,
and
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's a big deal because he was a kid that was, you know, making something of himself and going somewhere, and the whole, like, all the coaches and a lot of the players from Utah, they all came
I remember that.
to Mesquite and went to his funeral.
Yeah,
so just to show what a good kid he was.
Yeah, and that's everything we heard about him. There was nothing bad. Like, nobody had anything bad, you know. So it's just I don't.
Those, I mean, I too don't miss going to cover things like that.
That was the reason I quit shooting news.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy stuff, but it's necessary stuff. I mean, people want to know who these people are and what they were about, and I get it. But
there's times I think that news is extremely too intrusive into people.
It's also, I mean, a way people grieve. Sometimes it's good, and not everyone's the same.
No, of course not.
I mean, I mean, I've had plenty of people answer the door very angrily at me in situations like that.
I've had guns pulled on me before. I've had guns pulled on me twice shooting stories.
Yeah, on those kind of stories, or I've had guns pulled on me.
Stories in general.
I mean, I've had I've been chased down the road with a baseball bat.
I watched a kid go to jail for doing it once.
So I mean, oh, cool. So he pulled a gun on you?
Yeah, I was shooting. I was shooting a house. Did not know anything about the house. They just sent me to shoot it. So I'm shooting the house, and this kid opens the door, steps outside, and he looks at me and he says, "Wrong neighborhood." And I looked at him and I go, "I'm just doing my job, man." And he lifts up his shirt and he shows me he has a gun around his waist, and he's like, "Wrong neighborhood, man. Leave." And I couldn't get my camera in my truck quick enough. And I,
of course,
had Nextels at the time, and I radioed back to the station, and my boss said, "Where are you at?" And I told him, and 2 minutes later, a patrol car rolled up right behind me and got out of the car and walked up to the door, knocked on the door, and the kid answered the door, and he goes, they have a little exchange, and all of a sudden, the kid asked to step outside, and cop arrests him and frisks him and finds the gun. And I kind of felt bad because I wasn't trying to get anybody, you know, I don't want to get anybody in trouble like that, but he did that to himself too.
Kind of.
So, you know, but, and then another time we were on a story, and it was just it turned out to be a BB gun. Yeah, but it was still scary.
You don't know. Sometimes they look like real guns.
Well, this one we were pretty sure was a BB gun real quickly, but we still didn't want to find out. I still don't want to get shot by a BB gun.
Red Rider on the side?
No, it had a little orange tip, but you could tell it was painted over. It was painted black, but you could see. Yeah, you could tell it was a.
Yeah, but they point that at a cop, and
they don't ask questions.
Game's over.
Cops don't ask questions.
Yeah, they don't necessarily recognize that orange tip.
No, well, it only said, like I said, the only reason I knew it was obvious is the situation.
Not as fast as it happens.
No, not in some situations.
I mean, you just can't. I mean,
no.
Yeah, I would never want to be in that situation.
No, but that, like I said, that's the reason I quit doing news. Or shooting news.
I wanted to ask you something.
Okay.
So I wanted to ask you about, because you have experiences way more than me.
Okay, this is going to be interesting.
And that's the using of different types of cameras, say Sony versus Canon, DSLR versus a Cine type of camera versus a ENG versus a GoPro. But I just wanted to kind of hear you kind of tell us the differences and how would you describe all that?
God, I have to think about this because there's a lot there. I'm going to go backwards. So I love the GoPros because they're ease of use.
Yes.
You just got to hit a button. Yes. Usually you preset everything and you push button, you get it set what you want, and then you can just clip it on. And
I mean, I've said basically if GoPro ever figures out the zoom thing, it's game over.
Yeah. If they can figure out a way that I can do an interview and I can put 3 GoPros on a tripod, I'm done. I use 3 GoPros all day. Although I've gotten burned occasionally by the being too wide, but that's fine because you can fix it in post if you have to. The ENG style that news is more used to, which I have a Panasonic P2 down there on the floor, I think in a bag. That was more ENG style. Yeah, I loved my P2. That's your traditional kind of on the shoulder, although it's a smaller camera, so it's hard to shoulder. But it allows you to have servo zoom, which is really nice,
Right.
because it gives you another tool in the belt if you want to try and get a unique shot or something creative. Because with the DSLR cameras and fixed lenses, unless you have a servo built in, attachment, which we can get, you don't have that. You have to stay fixed or stay in one location or stay where you are. I used Sony News Cam. I think it was Sony. I've only used Sony big ENG Sonys, and that was at my old station. And those were were they? No, we went Panasonic then too, because we switched to. It was Sony originally. We switched to P2s, and that's how I discovered about that camera. That's how I learned about that camera.
I used I want to say, I thought it was a Panasonic, but I guess it was JVC Pro with the little mini DVs.
Oh, those are awful. I've used one of those before. The only thing about P2s I couldn't stand were the cards.
Yeah.
Because they were just these big cards, and they're so expensive. That's why I like when you look at the DSLRs now, we have the micro SD or the SD cards. They're just so much easier. And now that Canon, pretty much you can just use those. I mean, you can get the Canon slot cards. I think I have one here. They're bigger cards. They're not your typical SDs.
The compact flash.
Compact flash, that's it. The compact flash cards. I used in my Canon 7Ds and the 5D, but also the US I like the DSLRs better because they're small, they're compact, they're in your hand. You can kind of do whatever you want. I think they allow for ease of use in terms of moving around and being mobile, things like that. But they definitely have their limitations. Lenses are a big limitation.
Right.
If you have Canon glass with a Sony lens, you lose the ability to autofocus. So there's different things. I've never used Nikon, so I'm not familiar with them. I've never really done that. I've used a handful of Canons, 1D, 1DX, or the 1DX, 5D, 7D, 7D, not 7D, not 70.
So between the Canon and the Sony, which do you think, which do you prefer? And why?
I like the file sizes on the Sony because they're smaller and they're more manageable. I personally like the look of the Canons.
What about that look that you like?
I like everyone will sit there and say, oh, blacks are crushed in Canons. And it's like, I agree.
They are a little darker.
I agree. But in most situations, I try to make the adjustment in camera to brighten it up so it's not so dark. I like that look a little better. I don't mind. I don't trust the Sony sometimes.
I think Canon looks more like film. A lot of times, it really. I mean, it did when we were using the 1Ds.
Well, it was like. I mean, you're using a 50.
No, but I'm just saying,
50 megapixel.
Yeah, I when I look at that video versus the other things we've shot with our Sony.
I need to call them and see if we can buy those from them used. Although they've probably had a lot of hours on them. Anyway, it's got a 50 megapixel sensor. I mean, the sensor's huge on those things.
But you got to admit, they look sweet.
He looks amazing. And he's got the glass is ridiculous. I mean, every lens on the sun, I like, I don't
Sony
trust
DSLR.
I don't trust the Sonys. I don't trust them. I trust them in terms of.
I think Sony DSLRs are better with their ISO.
Yes. And they're better in low light situations.
Yes.
They're substantially better in low light situations.
But they never look like
focus burns me. The focus burns me way too much.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I get frustrated with that, which pisses me off and makes me not want to use it as much.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well,
give me Canons all day.
Yeah, in the DSLRs.
Yeah.
But I don't think you know what to answer for when you go to the Cine.
I don't.
I don't either.
I don't. And
I just know what other people tell me.
Right, yeah. I mean.
Which makes it difficult because we're kind of in the market of going as that being one of our next cameras.
See, I would even not mind trying, like, renting even like a Blackmagic camera and trying that for a weekend. And seeing if I like that. The only thing I don't like about it is the file sizes are so bad.
I just don't like the style of the Blackmagic cameras.
No.
It depends which ones you're talking about.
They're so uncomfortable.
Are you talking about the ones that look like an ENG camera, or are you talking about the ones that look like a DSLR?
But the problem is they're so awful in your hand. Like they don't. That's what I love about Canon and the Sony. Like you can hold it in your hand and it's just.
Right.
I'm never worried I will drop my Canon camera ever.
Well, one of the things I don't like about DSLRs is their stability stabilization.
True.
Like they just, I mean, without a gimbal, they are. It looks rough.
Even with
gimbals, it still looks pretty rough.
Yeah. And the problem with most gimbals on Canon DSLRs is the Canon is too heavy.
But even with the Sony on a gimbal, I mean, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
All
Unless you have a short
DSLRs
lens.
are really like, I don't mind DSLR when we're, rock steady on a tripod.
Sure,
but
of
when we
course
start
not.
using a handheld, I just don't like it.
No, I agree.
And it bugs me because I want to do it. I want to because it's such, even as much as we love the GoPro, using the DSLR would look incredibly better minus the stabilization part.
True. Yeah.
And you can't get better stabilization than the GoPro right now.
Oh, no. And we're not even using 10s. We're using 8s.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know if does it change? Does it look like all of a sudden a Canon with a prime lens on it?
No. I'm telling you, you're right though. When GoPro figures out if we could do an interview and you could frame a GoPro the way we frame our interviews, done.
Yeah.
I don't need big cameras at that point because now I can just grab different GoPros.
Yeah, but
like I can grab different.
You're still going to always need sort of that. I think the zoom capability is something you're going to want.
Don't disagree with you, but my thought process would be I could have 5 different GoPros that each one has a different style to it. Like I have my tight camera one, I have my wide camera. Like that would be my thought is I would just number them and be like, oh, that's for this situation. That's for this situation. That's for, like that's how I would do it. But you can't get that type of zoom right now without putting the camera 3 inches from someone's face.
So what you're telling me is we need a limited fund so we can just get
We don't have unlimited funds. I thought we did.
I mean,
doesn't money just grow off trees?
Well, I haven't found the money.
Don't look at
yet.
the tree in my front yard because that thing's sickly.
Oh, well, I was looking at your neighbor's tree.
They have nice trees. I don't know why mine sucks anyway.
So,
more GoPros.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're in the market to get our next camera, and Canon and Sony. Like I hear from both, and also even I know certain people want you to have certain cameras a lot of the time, and that makes it even more difficult.
That I don't understand. I mean, I guess I do.
I mean, we've already talked about the, dumbing it down where you get the really, really, really high end cameras, the Aries, the Reds, and then they're shooting like better than 4K. Yeah. And they're,
I think 8K is the max.
And then
right
everyone's dumbing it down to 720 or worse, which
makes
is just
no sense.
I mean, I'll never understand that, but that's what is done. It's just what's done.
No sense to me.
I mean,
whatsoever.
if you have a big camera like that, I am hoping somehow you're presenting it big, really big.
Yeah.
I still kind of lean towards Sony, but I just love the look of Canons, and it makes me so torn. It makes me like.
Oh, it's not even a question. I would say Canon all day, every day.
I mean.
For me, the hands down biggest thing.
Think ease of use, though. Sony tends to.
I think it's harder to use.
Huh?
I think it's harder to use.
Sony?
Yeah. Here's why. I can look at the Canon and I see what I'm going to see.
You've used it more.
I don't care about that. I can look at that monitor and that's what I'm going to see here. I'm going to see them and I'm pointing in my computer. That's what I'm going to see. Sony, that is not what I'm going to see. I have to trust those numbers. And yes, now that I know the numbers, and that's fine. But what I see on the back of that little monitor is not what I see in my computer. And I can't stand that.
You're talking about like when we're at the podcast.
Or anywhere.
You're
Anytime
looking
we're
at it
shooting.
and it looks like overexposed.
Yes.
But the numbers are telling you otherwise.
I'm sitting there looking at a camera and the blonde hair looks like it's on fire. And I'm like, there's no way this is good. And you're like, no, we're good. And, we're running it through a switcher so you can see it, which brings it down a stop. I've definitely noticed that our switcher brings everything down a stop.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It becomes
I'm
complicated.
not an expert with the menu.
It becomes complicated with multiple cameras that are different formats too.
Yes.
That is,
And
there's
we run into that all the time, but
no choice.
it's
It is what it is.
Just something that you learn to do. And,
Yeah.
You learn how to color certain cameras certain ways
Right.
and things like that. So, all right, we haven't done this in a while.
Oh, this will be good.
All right. We haven't done a video word.
Oh, okay.
All right.
What's the video word?
The video word of the day. It's actually 2 words.
Oh, okay.
Frame rate.
Oh,
I wonder if people will know what we're talking about. I mean, some people will.
Yeah.
I would hope most people that are listening to our podcast
Well, yeah.
probably know what a frame rate is.
so okay. Cinema is typically 24 frames a second, which is 24 images per second of video.
So basically, he's saying it takes 24 consecutive
Images to make 1 second.
to make 1 second. So, like if we were building a animation as a drawing, it'd be 24
There's a trick to
individual
that.
illustrations.
Trick to that. It's actually 12.
Well,
There's a trick to that because you double them.
Yeah.
You double them. But
Yeah.
anyway. And then on TV, it's 30 frames per second.
Then what's 29.97?
That is true 30. That's what they call true 30.
That's what they call the drop frame.
Well, right. The drop frame, but still, true. They call it, I've been heard it as true 30.
I just find it interesting. Like, I've always known, the 30 and what frames are and what
23.97.
equals a second. And, and then in the later years, obviously learned what 24p was and things like that. But
And you get Lord of the Rings, it does 60.
editing is fun.
It is.
Frame rates make editing fun. Right?
No.
Yeah, and this is where I was going with this. We've learned recently really what is the difference between 24, 29.97, straight up 30.
Yeah.
Because we've had some kind of
podcast
situations
was an issue.
where we're literally dealing with these different frame rates on different timelines.
Yeah.
And then I export it out and I go,
And there's lip flap.
Rick, why do my lips not match my voices?
Well, we learned on the switcher that their switcher records 29.97, which is what it is. And then evidently when I was exporting them in 30, which was fine because my system was making the adjustment.
Until you get 50 minutes down the road and that 0.7,
Right.
that 0.03
Yeah.
turns into
And
a big...
It wasn't until it went into your system though that we saw the error. It was.
But that was interesting.
I've never experienced
really I've seen it before. I think during contest time, sometimes we would I would take the beta tapes and I would put them into the system, and then for some reason they would be always be 1 or 2 frames off, and I'd just move everything over. But that wasn't the same thing.
No.
That had to do with the sync with the
Right.
how
Where
it was
the
being
computer-
recorded
yeah.
or something. I think
Right.
like the delay.
Well, I've seen a 24 and 30, and that's very obvious.
Yeah.
Because it's 6 frames. It's huge.
Yeah, but
0.03
that 0.03
takes a
you
while.
don't realize it until you get to the end of the episode and you're like, what's going on?
It takes a while. You don't see it at first.
He mouth is moving, but no voice is coming out. But then anyway, that's frame rate. Frame rate is and we got kind of in the weeds on some of that but that's 3 frames you're losing.
So the most common frame rates are 24, 30, which is 29.97. 24 is actually 23.97.
Right.
60, and then 120. And 120 typically people use for their slow-mo stuff because they'll record it in 120 and then they'll revert it back to 30. And that gives them slow-mo effects and things like that. And it's... Anyway.
And then just since we're talking about frame rate, I mean, this is kind of a no-brainer. A video frame is...
Literally one image.
One of those frames
Yeah.
of the frame rate. The frame rate's like how many frames consecutively equal a second.
Yeah.
And it's different because I don't know like the true technical thing that makes it different, but it has a different look to it.
For what do you mean?
Like the 24 versus the 29 and
Well,
the
right.
30. It has something to do with the way it looks.
Well, I mean, the 24 was designed more for the cinema reels and how they projected onto the screen, and they found when they did it in 30, it didn't look right. So
Right.
that's why but on TV was necessary to have 30 for whatever reason. I think it had to do with the pan and scan at the time. Not 100% sure I'm right there. But anyway.
Somehow I passed that test. You know, that from our very first episode where we talked. Yeah, I aced it, and now I don't have a clue. But,
I know that they use green screens. Oh wait, it's blue.
Wait, is it blue or green or?
I have a green screen in my car.
I've seen it white before.
I've seen that too, which I don't understand because you lose eyes, but whatever.
Hey,
it doesn't matter what the color is. It's just
tell them to wear a white T-shirt.
It literally doesn't matter what the color of the solid is.
Right.
The problem you run into is
it used to matter.
Oh, it used to absolutely matter.
It used to if you didn't have blue.
Yeah, and it's and very certain green, color of blue.
Then it turned where you could. I think blue and green kind of became the two interchangeable.
Yeah. Well, colors. You used blue if someone had or green if someone had blue eyes, and you used blue if they had any other color. That was what I was always that's how I always looked at it. But I don't have a blue screen. I just have a green screen.
All right.
And I have a black one, and I have a white one, and I have a other one.
Apparently, I don't know how to do this anymore. I'm glad I didn't hit that right though. So anyway, again, I'm hitting it in the wrong spot every time.
Every time
today.
Thanks for joining us.
Like, subscribe, comment.
We ask us comments. A question.
Yeah,
I want a question.
Ask us something, and
Share
you might want to know about video production. If we know it, we'll tell you.
Or business. See ya.
Bye.